You may all be aware of the recent hashtag MakeMineMilkshake debacle. I did a video on it, basically going through the entire thing with the mindset of trying to figure out what the hell is going on. If you missed it, well, basically one of the editors at Marvel is said horrendous things like, "I'll bang the girl in the front?"
What a huge success, huh? Hear that pun?
And that prompts Marvel to ask many websites to make articles after articles crying about the horrendous harassment of being called an SJW Tumblrite that one person is willing to smash. Do we really need tons and tons of articles on someone being called mean stuff? One of them is a compliment? If that's the standard of an editorial up in the Daily Dot, damn, I'll be spamming articles with good clicks every single time somebody said it's gay if I want to smash Nagisa. You don't really need to be made articles on the fact that people want to smash you and call you mean words. As an editor, you should be more concerned about your comic books. So when is the next one will appear? Wait, you don't know? You're the freaking editor.
What's this world coming to?
Like I said in the last video, the Marvel writers and editors really don't care about your opinion. They don't care about your opinions on their books. They don't care about your opinions on them. They have huge contempt over their audiences, and they're even willing to go into your social media and find the horrendous words that you say. And by horrendous words, they mean opinions. Their hatred for the consumers have of course led into the down of a lot of Marvel comic books, both in sales and in quality. But we're not going to talk about the sales or the quality of these comics because I have already talked about them a lot in my previous videos. Today, we're going to talk about how the Marvel writers and editors deal with the criticisms. One of the best way to deal with those is just to dismiss them as trolls. The world of comics has a serious problem. Trolls. It's not the horrendous, cringy propaganda writing. Nope. It's the trolls. Certainly those with barely 5,000 followers on Twitter could cause such a monstrous impact in the comic book industry, one of the biggest comic book industry in the entire world. But we barely started this article yet, so let's get reading. There's something rotten in the world of comics. It's something I've noticed for a very long time, sadly, but the last few weeks has seen it feel even worse. Maybe even the last year, emboldened by the kind of discourse pervading our world now, even down to our politics and societal structures. That problem is, simply put, trolls. No, not rebirths, retcons, or reboots, or perpetual event comics. No. The problem with comics has become a frankly toxic element of discourse that has pervaded every section of comics, from fandom, commentary to critical elements, and even the creators and publishers themselves. Why do you have to put so much concern to the loudmouth minorities, or in this case the loudmouth majorities, that bring legitimate criticisms like, when is the next comic going to come? Although I do agree that some of the toxic elements, well, most of them, they do come from the higher-ups at Marvel. The editors, the writers, the spies, they're really not helping this matter. Note, I am not going to name names here. This article isn't about playing the shame game, and I will not be calling any particular individual, but I most certainly will be discussing the kind of harassment and offensive dialogue that has sprung up in comics, or at the very least become far more visible through the advent of social media. Fair enough. Let's call those toxic behaviors out together, shall we? The idea of gatekeepers to the comics community and fandom is hardly new. It's what led to all of those offensive stereotypes of comics fans as fat, balding, middle-aged white men living in their mother's basement, because it was happening. Gatekeeping is a rather interesting term, because this is the sort of term that I have yet to hear any of the fans use. It was mostly used by the people who are not in a certain fandom, and they got booted off away from said fandom. You're well aware that my channel has a lot of anime influence, but I've only just got into anime as recent as December 2015, where One Punch Man was out. My anime library and knowledge wasn't exactly vast back then. Same goes with my comic book knowledge or my video game knowledge. I'm also not a fan of JRPGs in general. Sure, I love Persona and it's a JRPG, but I'm not really a fan of the rest of the JRPGs. And yet, continuously as I make these videos of misinformation and censorship of video games whose genre that I'm not a fan of, or comics with unnecessary political propagandas, even though I barely read comics, here I am now with thousands of followers and subscribers. All of that achieved despite me being a freshman, someone who only glanced in the general stuff but ignored the hardcore niche stuff, all to make sure that I get the general idea of what they are before I make videos about my opinions on them. So I can get through all of these fandoms and talk about it just fine, while still being pretty much a newcomer. My experiences in a lot of these fandoms aren't going to be as vast as any of you guys, especially considering that I'm still 19, and there are so many of my subscribers who are older, more experienced than me. Those who watch more stuff, play more stuff, experience in stuff, more skilled in certain fields, etc. I'm very sure there are tons of subscribers of mine who have a lot more experience and history dealing with comic books or anime or video games. And do these people treat me with contempt? Absolutely not. I have no issue with any of these people. They're very welcoming, they're very respectful. So how can you guys have issues with gatekeeping? And then it stumbles on me. The issues of gatekeeping isn't really how much knowledge that you have on certain fandoms. The issue is the respect that you give to those fandoms. The difference between me and a lot of you writers or game journalists out there is the respect that we give towards the entertainment itself, and also the fans who love them. If you disrespect any of their materials by insinuating that they're problematic, or by your example, Marvel, making garbage comics with political propaganda, using their favorite characters, of course the fans are going to be hostile towards you. They don't want the things they love to be ruined by you. If you come into their face claiming that you know what you're talking about, and then they ask questions that you cannot answer, they're not angry because you don't know. They are angry because you lied at them. This hostility of the fans and the amount of trolls coming out are not caused by some mere coincidence or baseless generalizations and stereotypes. They're caused by utter disrespect of both the source material and the fans who love them. This is the biggest issue that's happening in comics. The disrespect from the creators towards its fans who pay for these comics, and an even bigger disrespect to the source materials that they're working on. And what's not helped on this situation is the creators blaming everyone else because that's what a lot of successful people do.
I gotta blame somebody, otherwise it's all my fault. Fuck that.
Now, in terms of gatekeeping, are there issues of elitism happening in fandoms where people say, oh, you're not a true fan if you do X? Sure, but these days, according to the words from Marvel creators themselves, the requirements of being a fan of something should be freaking lowered to the point where you don't even have to know the basics of the source material to be a fan of something. Read a comic for 5 minutes, that automatically makes you a fan, and that automatically justifies you ruining established canon with zero respect whatsoever. Do you know why these people are pissed and outraged? I'm very sure you know well. And you baited these people to do so you can write articles like this. All of this is just a move to make sure that Marvel does it easy. They don't have to do the hard work of writing good comics. They can just write the worst of the worst and play the victim when they're being criticized. So zero respect towards the audiences, zero respect towards the source material. We're not even getting into the issues of race that they brought up for some reason. Comics felt inaccessible to minorities, women, and people of color for years due to a perceived lack of their presence in the material and a threatening, unsafe feeling generated in the comic spaces, whether through language use or the perceived glares of those admitted into that world. I hate to bring this up, but if you can't make it out yet, I am brown. And like I said, all of these people in all of these fandoms, they welcome me with open arms, regardless of my skin color. That's because I have respect for them. I love and respect the source materials that they're a fan of. And most importantly, I don't insult them and telling them they're not the real fans or something. This has nothing to do with being in a different race or sexual orientation. For God's sake, my brown skin does not stop thousands of subscribers and followers, and a lot of my viewers are from the racist America. So racist they're willing to sub to a guy who lives in a cheap house and has garbage internet and OMG has a brown skin. The freaking horror that I suffered. Please, someone help me. If you're going to make this issue to be about race, then what that shows to me is you have nothing. You have no arguments left. You're going to take the most insignificant factors and make it out as if those are the significant ones. No, they're not. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to others.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
The why of this, why would they be like this, is largely a simple psychological response. They are made to feel powerless in the world, and unfortunately a natural inclination for humans, a very base response, is to reclaim some of that power by passing along those feelings of powerlessness to someone they feel they can, such as individuals or groups new to the area or community, or who are themselves seeking a safe space. Well, that's fantastic. This is projection. Absolute projection. Please tell me, if you're a big fan of something like a movie or an anime or a video game, do you think that you can feel power by kicking everybody out who are interested to know your hobby? You know who feels power by kicking everybody out? The people at Marvel. They have the power to say screw the fans. They have power to dictate what is and isn't harassment. This entire paragraph is just projection. And this is concerning, especially knowing that some of these people are willing to incite harassment towards the critics themselves. At this point, I'm going to repeat myself because the article says the exact same points and I can only give the same response. Then, it shifts into blaming the creators. There have been a number of creators who have publicly via social media made troll-like comments themselves, whether it be making fun of fans who are concerned with the direction of a story, or shutting them down for expressing concerns from a different viewpoint, actually friending critics or calling them idiots or liars because they have a distaste for the site they work for, or other writers at that site, or merely didn't like a review or article they wrote, or expressing social or political views that previously they would have kept to themselves, and publishers have been few and far between in any kind of reprimand against this action. Yes, this is the problem. Not the trolls. You add this paragraph as an afterthought, that's the problem. You should have made this article to be about how the creators who are in Marvel have zero respect towards the source material and the fans. But nope, you ditched this out, even though this is the main problem. And even if the main problem of comic book community is trolls, so what? A lot of your comic books are still propaganda spewing low quality garbage. Concerning yourself to the trolls would not fix the quality of your comic. They won't fix them at all. But going back to the issue of gatekeeping again, this may be the biggest problem facing comics right now. If the trolls gatekeeping the community persist, it will continue to put off new people from wanting to join the community. Even despite the best efforts of creators and publishers, we need to foster an environment where this kind of hatred, this kind of ownership, this kind of moral wasteland can no longer be permissible. Let me make this 100% clear, and let me make this point again. Gatekeeping wouldn't be an issue if you have at least an inch of respect towards the source material and the fans. That's what I did. I give respect to the works that I'm not a fan of, and I give respect to the fans who love those works. I love anime, comics, video games, but I'm not a hardcore fan of any of these things. I'm very certain that there are going to be people who are a lot more experienced in this field than I am right now. And yet these people, the hardcore fans of these certain things, they welcome me. They don't hurl insults at me. Even if they did, I don't take them personally. Why can't you do the same? Why can't you have a good relationship with your audience? Why do you have to dismiss them? Is this because of your politics? Is this because you're so entrenched in your cult mentality that you're going to be hostile towards those that slightly disagree with you? Now I'm going to end this video with this. We have seen examples again on the wider stage of where the discourse of the world has moved away from healthy debate and education and towards this new paradigm of statements designed to send people into a rage, preventing all reasonable conversation. The reason for such discourse is clear. It's self-serving. You get to hear your own voice and opinion, and then watch the rabble as those it's offended because of the way it was delivered vent and rage, and speak to the primal element of those who agree with you. It is designed to eliminate reason in favor of the instant gratification of having your own thoughts validated. But we cannot allow that to continue. We cannot allow the validation of attacking and hurting minorities, or indeed anyone. We need the comics community to change, and it is all of our responsibility to work on that. Well, I agree. Except not in the same way you do. Those last couple of paragraphs are literally projection. You are the one making statements designed to send people into rage and preventing any reasonable conversation. You are the one who is self-serving. You are the one who watch those you offend and speak to only those who agree with you. You are eliminating reason in favor of the instant gratification of having your own thoughts validated. And yes, you're right. We can't allow that to happen. We can't allow the validation of attacking and hurting minorities, or indeed anyone, including comic book fans. We need the comics industry to change. And since the power that we as consumers have is the purchase of your comics, we're definitely gonna work on that. We're not going to buy garbage. Enough is enough. But just because you're a consumer, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have the power to create. You absolutely do. There are comic book creators, artists, and writers out there who couldn't stand this constant stream of political correctness. They took matters to their own hands, and they make their own comic books. This is why, as I see this constant shift of priorities in the entertainment media, from making good entertainment to spreading political propaganda, I have always yearned the idea of making my own production company. I want to take matters to my own hands and make some good old quality comic books or animations. The problem is, I'm not an artist, so maybe with the right budget, I can commission some freelancers, sketch some storyboards, and make up some good old animations. But until then, I'm just gonna do YouTube, save up some money from my Patreon, and do my other part-time job by wandering off a little bit into the cognitive world. Since this moment is captured using a camera, we can fictionalize it.
Yeah.
And therefore from that, we can unleash.
Yeah.
Oh, and before we end this video, huge thanks to my new patron Wit for the pledge on Patreon. You are fantastic. That's all for the video today. If you like this, you can go ahead, click like button, and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can support me on Patreon. And thanks for watching.